Hello everyone and welcome to a very nice game that was played in round 4 of this year's Geza Hetenyi Memorial Tournament. It is Praggnanandhaa versus Kirill Shevchenko. You know both of them. I believe they need no introduction. Pragg a bit younger. He's 17 currently. Shevchenko is 20. And sorry, this is yeah, I know why this position is on the board, but I'm not going to tell you just yet. I will tell you in some 10 moves. So yeah, let's check it out and see what is happening in this tournament and why some of you a lot of you are requesting to see it. So Pragg has the white pieces and he opens with e4. We have pawn to c6, d4, d5, so a standard Caro-Kann, and you can reply to this with knight to c3, go for the standard stuff, knight to d2, advance the pawn to e5, many options here, even f3 has been played. But here, Pragg goes for not e5, but e captures on d5. He goes for the exchange variation. We have captures, and now bishop to d3. So very popular. We have knight to c6 and now pawn to c3, just strengthening the d4 pawn. And knight to f6, the absolute top move here. Queen to c7, the second most played. So okay, still can be considered the main line, of course. We have h3. You kind of want to play knight to f3, but you don't want to give black this free developing move. So first h3 is more popular. Now black has to figure out how to continue development, and pawn to e6. Now okay, the bishop hasn't been developed, so white takes this as a small victory for himself. Knight to f3, we have bishop to d6, and now castles. We have knight g to e7 and rook to e1. We have castles, pawn to a4, and now pawn to a6, and it is now as of move 10 that we have a completely new game. That's why this position was accidentally on the board when I started up the video. And here we have pawn to b3. Now Pragg wants to maybe Fianchetto, maybe play bishop to a3, the bishop. We have b6 and now bishop to a3, offering a trade here. So knight to g6 and bishop captures on d6. We have queen captures and knight b to d2. So both players just continuing development. Nothing spectacular happening here. We have knight to f4 now, putting pressure on the bishop here, and bishop goes back to f1. And here we have pawn to e6, sort of weakening this e6 pawn, but you are limiting the movement of this knight, and if you are limiting the movement of this knight, then you cannot play something like knight to g5, then this knight cannot come to f3, or this knight to e5. It's a bit harder for white to play. So g3 kicks away the knight, knight back to g6, and now pawn to b4. Pragg grabs more space on the queen side. King to h8, always a useful move, and now bishop to g2. So the bishop is nicely aligned with the rook on a8, so rook to b8, and now pawn to h4. You want to play pawn to h5, kick away the knight, and then advance the pawn, well, all the way to h6, to mess up the black king's pawn structure. Bishop to d7, continuing development, and now queen to e2. Preparing to advance the pawns all the way. But first, pawn to a5 by black, saying, okay, if you want to trade, I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm going to capture with the knight. I mean, this would be, well, this wouldn't really be all that much for white. Black would very much enjoy this position. So Pragg, of course, just grabs more space on the queen side. Pawn to b5, knight to d8, and now pawn to c4. And this is a beautiful move by Pragg. Well, you could maybe play h5 first, but Pragg decides to go pawn to c4, and this is the way to do it. And now you also see that king to h8 was a very useful move, because if captures, let's say captures, then the queen occupies this diagonal, bad things could happen. So here we have knight to e7. Point is that if you capture the pawn, knight captures on c4 is maybe just giving black too much. It's not the best. You would have to go back, and then after rook 8 to c1, aligning with the queen. Where is the queen going to? You have to play something like queen to a7, and look at this queen. That's no way to treat your queen. And now let's say pawn to h5, knight to e7, pawn to h6, and already Pragg controls the queen side, the king side. He's attacking, he controls the center. It's well, the knight at some point coming to d6, just a ugly position for black. So instead, after c4, knight to e7 was played, and now we have pawn to h5. We have knight to f7, now nicely controlling h6, and here you really have to figure out how to continue this game. Probably bishop h3 is objectively best, just putting pressure on the e6 pawn, but Pragg went rook e to c1. He wants to sorry, not rook e to c1, he played rook 8 to c1. He wants to advance that pawn to c5, and here you should actually capture on c4, but it wasn't played. To give you an example why it's strong, because after d captures on c4 and knight captures, now you can play queen to b4. That's the whole point. And now after something like bishop to h3, putting pressure on the pawn here, there's knight to d5. And now if bishop captures on e6, if you can play this, then it's great. If you can't play this, then white didn't really get anything from this, because now you'll just play rook b to e8, and here probably we would see something like a repetition, rook to b1, queen c3, rook c1, queen b4. But it would be maybe the safest way for black to play. However, rook b to c8 was played instead, and now the big difference is that the b6 pawn is not defended. And here we have bishop to h3, and now knight to f5. Here no longer can you capture d captures on c4. This is off the table, because now, like I said, the b6 pawn isn't defended, and now it would be just silly, to try this. Even if you play queen to b4 right away and allow something like knight captures on b6, then comes rook captures on c1, and now after rook captures on c1, bishop to e8. And the white is completely winning here. You have a beautiful passed pawn here. The pawn is nicely protected by the knight. This is winning for Pragg. So instead, knight to f5 was played. Now comes bishop captures on f5. Yes, you are giving up the bishop, but you will mess up a black's pawn structure. E captures and queen to e7 now, offering a queen trade. D captures on c4 first. Knight captures, attacking the queen, and only now queen captures on e7. We have rook captures on e7, and now rook to c7, defending the bishop on d7, but now rook to c2. The rook on c1 is undefended, so you can't really move your knight, otherwise just rook captures on c1. Pragg wants to play knight to e1, so the rook will be nicely defended. King to g8, now the rook can move, the knight is nicely protected on f7, and now comes knight to e1. And here, believe it or not, you have to play a silly move like, oh, you could play f4, does make sense, but let's say you play rook to e8, and this is the best black has. Something like this happens. So let's say captures, then the pawn comes off the board, knight captures on b6, and after rook captures, knight captures, and you can try to hold this. Yes, you're up only down only one pawn, but also you have a doubled pawn, and the white has two passed pawns, so chances are you will lose this. Maybe it is possible to hold only with maybe perfect play. But after knight to e1, rook to b8 was played, sort of bringing back the defender of the b6 pawn. But this move completely loses the game on the spot. So feel free to pause the video and try to find the only move that wins for Pragg while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on finding this a very, very difficult variation. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is knight captures on b6. I know you found it, as you are excellent players, but I still have to show it. So knight captures on b6. And now what do you play? Your rook on c7 is hanging. So of course you have to capture on c2. This is what Kirill played. Now comes knight captures on d7, attacking the rook on b8. And now just rook to c7. The problem is now, if Pragg captures on b8, then Kirill captures on e7, and now how do you play this? The knight here is attacked, king to f1, and okay, you have an extra pawn. There's still two passed pawns, but you're down the exchange. So this would in fact be a draw, or even it would be black playing for the win. But Pragg, of course, finds the strongest move. He just plays knight captures on f6 with check, grabs another pawn while he's at it, g captures, and now rook captures on c7, and he was in this position on move 35 that Kirill Shevchenko resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. He's now down 2 pawns, and okay, sometimes you can play if you're down 2 pawns, if you're attacking or if it's a very complicated position, but here is just a very, very elementary endgame. To give you an example of how it might finish, let's say black plays something, because there really aren't all that many great moves. Let's say you go rook d8, you go after the pawn, white will defend it, and there's no way to kick away the knight, so the d4 pawn is defended forever. I mean, you have the double f pawn, so there's no way to challenge the knight. Let's say you try bringing the king into the game, king to g2. Let's say you play king to e8, now rook to a7 attacks the a5 pawn. You're going to win another pawn, you're going to be up 3 pawns, and then of course it's unplayable. So basically you resign here because you're disgusted at the position, and you don't even want to look for moves. I mean, that's how I see it. So yeah, definitely not a premature resignation by Kirill. Very nicely done by Pragg, and so far, and also one of the reasons why a lot of you guys have requested it, Pragg is doing incredible here. He defeated 4 grandmasters in a row: Sanan Sigurov, Magnus Carlsen's old nemesis, then Parham Makhmudlu, Adam Kozak, Kirill Shevchenko, and today, or maybe today is a rest day, but in round 5 he will be facing Grandmaster Amin Tabatabai. So we'll see if Pragg can continue his onslaught and keep the 100% win rate. He came into the tournament or as a 26 and 90 player, but his underlive ratings, I think he's already well past 2700. I will check. I don't want to trick you guys, so let me just check real quickly. What is this? Oh, sorry, that's Blitz. My bad. Let me just check. There we have it. Yeah, Praggnanandhaa is 2709. He climbed up 16 spots, so that's absolutely incredible. Number 31 in the world. Once the month is done, his rating will update, and it will be over 2700. So very nicely done by Pragg. We'll see what happens in the rest of the tournament. I'm sure you guys are very eager to find out how he does. That's the game. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Sorry about no videos yesterday. I was visited by my roommate from college. He came to visit me from Sweden. We didn't see each other for some 10 years, so I took a day off. Took him around the town, and we had a good time. Really hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to thank David Kimura, John Malpass, Phil Malthus, Johan Bridger, and Richard Phillips for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check two of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.